Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Akakadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles, great minister and rule well, to the Akim Akwa, try the four corners of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth to the gospel of Lord Amashak Yahweh Shai in these days and times. This is Braham Nasha, DC Cam, short lesson for the hopeful elect. The tribe of Gad is just going to have to come to a realization that the only way out of their problem is going to be through returning to the true identity under the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai. All right. So, it says, you see on the screen, it says Native American actress eyes called my tribal ID fake. So that's the issue, our people have to deal with, man, when you come in contact with the system of oppression, the system of their downfall. So they will have to figure out the solution, and that solution is the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai. So I get it real quick. Jeremiah chapter 17 and 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. So this is what we have to learn to deal with, man. The chastening of the Lord is not over yet. We still have to overcome all this ridicule, you know, being a proverb and a byword. And you just have to be aware that it's sad, it's upsetting, but we got to look at the bigger picture. The Lord put us in a lower state so that we can call upon Him in times of our distress. And we are in the times of our distress, all right? All these so-called government handouts and government programs is not really going to lift us out of our low degree. Only the Lord can get us out of here, man. That's the reason why, the Lord has to rescue us. That's the reason, we have to trust in the Lord. So, Isaiah chapter 42 and 24, he says, Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yashai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. So that's the reason why we have to deal with all this mismanagement of our identity. Okay, so now we have to see what goes on, man. All these jakes that think they have a pass in society are getting their wake up call. It don't matter if they have a badge with a law enforcement agency, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't matter if they have citizenship, they all got to deal with it. So, from the so called billionaire all the way to Jake in the dungeons of the correction system, they're going to have to deal with it, man, because the Messiah have put a spirit on this ICE, agents, to move around with impunity. And, it's going to spiral out of control. When the people start to take clean shots against these agents, then the wrath of the serpent, the wrath of the dragon, is going to be turned up a notch. It's going to go into overdrive. So that's what we're looking forward to, man. Folks are going to start talking less and then they're going to start executing on the spot. It's going to be a SOS, for these ICE agents. So that's all prophecy, man. The book of Ezra tells you clearly what is going to have to happen. So we're looking forward to this collapse of public trust in a system of justice. All right. So Second Ezra chapter 15 and 16 says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another." So you see the chaos, of ICE agents saying that, oh, we can go into a person's house with a so-called administrative warrant. So if you're going into someone's house with an administrative warrant, what other warrant do you have to do a traffic stop? You know, are you gonna write a ticket? Are you gonna write a ticket for somebody speeding? That means the state or the county, we have to move that power into the hands of the agents to be writing tickets. So that's how messed up the situation has become. If an agent sees a vehicle without tags, are they going to enforce that? Check registration. You citizen. When was the last time a police officer asked a person if they were a citizen? So when the system begins to fracture, then you can understand that the chaos and pain is going to increase. All right. So Second Ezra 15 and 16 says, "For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the cause of their action shall stand in their power." So the violence is gonna take on a form of its own, man. A lot of people are gonna be out there looking for revenge. And then, who's gonna be caught up in the middle? The zombies, man. Yeah, the zombies are gonna be caught up in the middle. That's the reason why, you have to stay away from these protests. It's tough, even if the protest is happening in your neighborhood, man. Where you gonna go? You have to go somewhere else. But sooner or later, the word where you gonna go. You can't keep moving around, moving around, moving around. You're gonna have to deal with the situation when it comes to your doorstep, wherever you find yourself. It could come to your plantation. It could come during the time you're picking up your children from school or daycare. It come to you while you're on public transit, driving to pick up groceries and all that stuff. So you have to be spiritually prepared for the sedition among men. All right. So you see another highlight: imperial rampage. So that's just what you got to deal with. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12 is also an excellent precept to look into. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time." So there's going to be a rampage of the dragon. The dragon's wrath is going to be inflicted upon the earth against those that oppose his dominion. So the World Economic Forum is the mouthpiece of the dragon. All right. And then you have Merz. You see Merz, that's the so-called one of the so-called leaders of Germany. Says Merz calls out Trump bullying, declares end of U.S. empire. Well, they're benefiting from it. They're all part of NATO. They are partners. When T-Man criticizes Babylon, you know that something is up. All right. So it's one of the things you have to be cautious. You know, people are smiling and giggling that finally, someone's able to speak up and talk against Trump. But hey, it's just the excitement. But the bitter part is about to come true. All right. So let me get this real quick. Now you're going to have to see Ezekiel chapter 2 uh, and 9. It says, "And when I looked, behold, an hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without. And there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe." So these are the times, we have to be cautious about, man. The lamentations, mourning and woe are integral to prophecy. These are the things we have to deal with, and the elites have to deal with it too, because it's not going to be a walk in the park with them too, because the people at the bottom are going to pick up arms to fight against them, and then they will go hide themselves in their bunkers. Wherever they find themselves, they're going to be on the ground on the top of a mountain with their private security detail and all that stuff with all their resources. So, yeah, it's going to be beautiful, man, to see how the Lord is going to rescue his elect from all these calamities. That's why we pray, that we get delivered out of all this rebellion coming upon the face of the earth. So that's the point of this lesson, man. The end of Babylon, is in sight. So we just have to hold on as we overcome the temptation of our flesh. Because once you're able to overcome the temptation of your flesh, then you have rule over your enemies. All right? Shalom.